What's up, everybody? It's your boy Irv Lee Jr. We back at it again with another Microsoft Excel tutorial. So yesterday I posted a tutorial on Facebook for the VLOOKUP function, and I got a comment from Damian Green about the index and the match function doing a similar job. So that's what we're going to get into today. The index and match function doing the same lookups as a VLOOKUP and an HLOOKUP. So here we go. Okay, so I have this same data from the VLOOKUP tutorial, but instead of doing a VLOOKUP to get this first name and last name information, what we're going to do is we're going to use this index function here, and we're going to nest inside of this index function two match functions to get us to the proper row and column. So let's get to it. All right, so starting here, I'm going to start off with the index function here. If my fingers will work. Okay, here we go. So the first argument here for the index function is an array. So this is a table array we're going to use here, and we're going to get all of our data. So here is the data set here. So we're going to go from B4 down to F13. I'm on a Mac. If you're on a PC, you can go F4. I'm going to go Command T so that I can toggle the absolute referencing versus the relative referencing. So I want this table to stay absolute. All right, you can see that the second argument in this index function is the row number. So now I'm going to cheat for a second just to show you how I actually do it in real life. And then I'm going to replace the cheats with the actual match function. So let's look at it. Right here, this first row is going to correspond to employee ID row number 9, employee ID 9, right? And so from our table here, that corresponds to the 9th row right here, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I know that the row number is going to be 9. So for row number, I'm going to cheat and put a 9 in here for a second just to illustrate a point. And then the column number we want the first name, and the first name data is the second column in our data set. So I'm going to put a 2 right here, and then I'm going to close it off, and I'm going to hit enter. And that brings up what we thought it would, which is Christy, right? Because it's the 9th row in our data, and it's the second column in our data. But we don't want to do that because we don't know if it's going to be 9, 2. So instead of 9 and 2, we're going to replace those with the match function. All right, so we're going to nest the match function inside of this index function. So let's first of all do the 9th row. How do we get the 9th row? So we'll replace this 9 with the match function. Here we go. So match. Now, I'm going to go ahead and close this parenthesis, and then I'm going to come back inside of here. Okay, so what are the arguments that are accepted in the match function? The first thing is the lookup value. So what are we looking up? Well, it just so happens that our employee ID data it's in numerical order, right? So the lookup value we're going to look for is employee ID number 9, right? Well, it doesn't matter if this was in order actually because we're doing a match function. So yeah. But we're going to match it with this employee ID. So this data right here in this column. So I did not mean to do that. That was an accident. So let's erase that. All right. So right here, there. Now, okay. So we're going to put here, where are we at? Oh, the match function. Yeah. Okay. So the lookup value right here. This lookup value is going to be right here, that employee ID. Now, when I copy this data over, I'm going to copy it over to the right so I can catch that last name as well. And then I'm going to copy it down so I can get all of, so I can repeat this function for my entire badge in data set. So for K4, that's fine. But what I don't want to change, I do want the row to change because when I copy it down, I want the row to change. But when I copy it to the right, I don't want the column to change. So I'm going to toggle that referencing Command T on the Mac, F4 on the PC. And so when I do that, I want the $ in front of the K. You see that? So if I hit it again, there's no $. That's $2, so that's absolute on the row and column. That one is absolute on the row, which is not what we want. And this one is absolute on the column, which is what we want. So we have our first argument in there, which is the lookup value. Then the next thing is we want the lookup array. So we're looking for, let me show you something. If you get confused, if you get a little mixed up, you can come out here outside of this parentheses. You can see we're still dealing with the row information, right? So we're trying to pick a row. So when I come back in here, I'm going to select this whole column here just so that it can tell me what row it found the data on, right? Because this is the first row of the data, this is the last row of the data. So my match function is going to tell me what row employee ID number 9 is on. So with that being said, what do we want? Do we want this to be absolute references or relative references? Well, again, we don't want this to change at all, right? Because we're going to copy this to the right and down, and we want it to stay the same. So let's come in here and Command T and get it all absolute. There we go. And then for the match type, we want an exact match. You can do -1, 0, or 1. I forget what they stand for, but I know 0 is an exact match, and that's what we want. So I'm going to do that. So now I'm going to hit enter because I want to see if my column data is done correctly. If not, I'll come in here and edit the function to see what I did wrong. So I'll hit enter, and it's still returning the right data for me, which is Christy. So that's good. So now let's come in here and replace this 2, and the 2 represents the column number, right? So how can we pick the correct column? So again, we're going to use our match function. Come in here and hit match right there. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put open and close parentheses. Now let's get in here. The lookup value. We're looking for the first name. So because that's where we are right now. So we're pulling the first name. Remember, that's how we was able to get Christy, because it's the first name. All right, so we're going to put L3 in here. Now, when I copy the data down, I do not want the row to change. So I know I'm going to need a $ in front of the 3. And when I copy to the right, I do want the column to change, right? So I'm going to hit Command T until I get a $ on the row. And that's perfect, which is what I want. And then I'll hit a comma. The lookup array, this time I'm going to search on this header data right here because I want to make sure I'm pulling the first name, right? So I'm looking on this header data. I don't want this header data to change at all, so I'm a Command T. I want it all to be absolute. That looks good to me. And then the last one is the match type. We said we were going to go with 0 so that it can be an exact match. I should be able to hit return, and looks like it's working. Let's copy it over to the right to see if we done this right. I was able to get the last name. That's good. And now let's copy it down, and just to see if this is the real test. This will let us know. There we go. And this looks like the same data we pulled with the VLOOKUP function. Let's go look at it real quick. And I'm zoomed in, so I'm about at 150%. So let's zoom in here, guys. Let's go this way and up. Yep, same data. So we know it's working. Another way we can test it out is look at, like, say, pick a row here. Let's look at this one. Let's say this one. This is employee ID number 3. And we see that number 3 is Sally Williams. Sally Williams. Now, just for giggles, I can show you the beauty of this function is this. I can say, like, I want to add in there, like, what their pay rate is. So if I just do pay rate, the beauty of this function is I can go ahead and add that header there, and then all I really have to do is just copy this formula over, and it's going to do the same thing. It'll get the pay rate for this individual, and I could take this formula in this cell and just copy it down, and look at this. Now I have everybody's pay rate, and all I would have to do is just come in here and format it if I wanted to, and things of that nature. But you get the gist of it, right? So this is the index match function. This is the match function nested twice inside of an index function. You can see it here. Here's the syntax for it. I probably should have went over that first, but the syntax for it is for the index one, we're going to have three arguments. We're going to have a table array, then we're going to have the row number that we want to get and the column number that we want to get. And then for the match function, what the lookup value is the first argument. So what are we looking up? What are we trying to match? And then our second argument is the lookup array. Where am I going to search for that match? And the third one is the match type. Do I want an approximate match or do I want an exact match? So there you have it, guys. This is the index and match function nested together. So ends our video for today. Peace.